All right, we will go ahead and get started as people kind of trickle in. So my name is Mario and I'm with HL Pro Tools, and this is our weekly town hall and updates on GHL, updates on HL Pro Tools. So let's start with some really cool stuff coming out of GHL. I just went to the changelog a little bit ago. For those of you who don't know, you can go to ideas.gohighlevel.com/changelog, and you can be kept up to date with all of the most recent changes that they are publishing. One of those really cool changes that they're publishing, and I love that they're doing stuff like this, is helping us to control our costs, right? So as we know, there's been a lot of cloud storage recordings that have been hanging around for years that are taking up a lot of space. It's causing a lot of additional fees and things like that. So one of my favorite, probably one of my second favorite update from this week is that you can now control your cloud recording um, storage simply by setting a time clock on enabling the auto delete. So this gives you the ability to really manage your costs a lot more efficiently. I mean, most people outside of regulated industries where they have some sort of compliance metrics that they have to meet, and they that's how they are required to say maintain recordings for 365 days or something like that. Outside of that, 90 days is a pretty good time frame for recording calls. And realistically speaking, you're going to be spot checking those calls on a regular basis anyways. So if you need to download a call, all you have to do is just hit that download button. So let's head over into GHL and take a look at exactly where we can find that. So inside of our settings and phone numbers, if we go to advanced settings and we go to, let's see, it says we go to voice calls. So we're going to hit up voice calls and call recording. We now have the ability to turn on this toggle, which is automatically going to delete those recordings after a certain amount of time. So super valuable from an update standpoint coming from GHL. Let's take a look here at some other stuff. We had some security and compliance issues, marking templates as favorites. Another problem, I would say my third, and I'm saving the best one for last, but one of my next favorite updates is this attachments in invoices and estimates. What this means is now when you send out a proposal, let's say that you have a brochure or you have a project spec sheet. Um, whoop, I was just talking there, didn't realize you couldn't see my screen. So this is what I was talking about as far as the automatic deleting of older recordings. Thank you for letting me know you couldn't see my screen. Um, so when you click on this toggle inside of phone numbers, so we go to phone numbers, we go to advanced settings, voice calls, call recording. This option right here allows you to automatically delete those older recordings and make sure that not only are you saving on your storage fees, but you're also saving on pretty much everything to do with those miscellaneous Twilio fees that you see or lead connector fees that you see. A lot of those can be attributed to things like the call recordings backing up. So that's update number one that I really liked from this week's batch. The next thing I want to talk about is invoices and attachments to the invoices and estimates. So, like I was saying earlier, when you are creating an invoice or estimate and you need to provide maybe, let's say, a project brief or some sort of other, like a project scope of work, a plan, things that are unique to each invoice or estimate, or things that you want to include in recurring invoices and estimate templates, things that are maybe like your terms of service or your privacy policy, any of those legalese documents you need to attach. This now gives you the ability to do that. So huge level up on the attachments, invoices, and estimates. One of the things High Levels promised us this year is that they're going to focus predominantly on enhancements and not new features. So I think what we can really expect to see is a lot of things like this in the change log, where it is very focused on bringing better features to the platform, but not new or enhancing existing features, but not bringing new features into the platform. One of the things that we discovered today is that X, or Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, has raised their API fees significantly. And due to this, it was totally basically blindsiding high level and not really fair, in my opinion, as to how X went about it. But what that did is it's caused high level to retract the capability of posting from the social media poster on in the social media poster through high level. And the reason why that's so important and the reason why it's important that high level made the decision they did is it was going to cost an average user about 50 cents per Twitter post to be able to post through the API, which is just absolutely ridiculous. You think how much you post on Twitter and how much content you generate, and it's simply just not feasible to have a 50 cents per post. Even 5 cents per post is, fairly astronomical. I could see like a penny or something like that, but again, those charges add up. And inside of high level, you should now see a banner when you go to marketing and social planner. You'll see that they've removed X from this here. And then if you actually have other platforms connected, you're going to see a yellow banner across the top that says that X is no longer supported. So that was a pretty major change in the landscape of the social planner. But to be honest, like high level said, only 0.05% of the users inside of high level were actively leveraging X connections because, you think about it, when you're tweeting, you're typically tweeting from your phone. You're not really, usually it's very spur of the moment. It's not something that you necessarily plan out, and planned content on Twitter kind of defeats the purpose. So that's one thing that was pretty big shock, but definitely something that I agree with. I think that this is going to help clean up the Twitter community or X community. I also think that this is going to really bring back the platform X to what it was originally before all these bots got involved. So while it is sad news, yes, that the 0.05% of high level users won't be able to integrate X anymore, I don't think in the grand scheme of things it's that big of an issue. So I did say that I was going to save my last update and favorite update. And that is that they have recently released automations for um, custom objects. So when you go into settings and you go into custom objects, which is objects right here, and you have this object that we've created. Now, a really important note of delineation is that objects are things that typically aren't going to be communicated with yet. I know that they're planning on releasing additional features and things like that, but realistically, if you're going to communicate with an object, that object should be associated with a parent contact, and that's the best way to communicate with them. So you can see here that I've created an object for child or children. The child's name is the primary display field, and it can be many to many. So you can associate one child with multiple parents. You can create associations between different objects. So let's say that I had an additional object that was something like cars, right? Because I'm doing a driving school. I'd be able to associate those children and their parents to the custom objects themselves. So a lot of people have asked, okay, well, what do I do about not being able to, in the workflow actions, not being able to text a parent directly from the workflow action? So you can see here that there's a very limited number of things that you can do. And that limited number of things you can do is create a child or associated record, update a child or associated record, or clear the fields of the child or associated record. So last night, what we came up with was the ability to change. Basically, the associated contact would have a custom field in it. And that would be something like, in this case, what I've created is a radial button for belt leveling up. And this is in the example of, let's say, a Taekwondo studio or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the case of how I was demoing it last night. One of the things that this gives you the ability to do is actually just update a custom field. And where that makes the most sense on being able to update that custom field to all associated contacts is when you come back into the workflow and you have that contact changed trigger, where if the contact changed trigger is set to yes, then it's going to fire this workflow, send out an internal notification, or send out an SMS or something like that. So a couple different things that you can do with this. Custom objects are, again, they are objects inside of the CRM that are not typically communicated with. So you're not going to communicate with something like, say, an HVAC furnace or a car, because you're not going to text or email your car. You're not going to text or email the HVAC furnace. But you do absolutely want to notify people on things like their service is coming due, or their air filter needs to be replaced, different things like that. So super powerful use case of being able to update dynamically the associated records and then being able to send out the internal notifications, or notifications of any kind, or even just enroll them in a workflow that does something, right? So that's probably one of my favorite updates of this week, is that they have released the ability to leverage custom objects inside of workflows. So once you create that custom object, you'll see that this new children-based workflow, or whatever you named that custom object plural as, is going to give you the ability to create that workflow that's associated with one of your custom objects. Now, currently, to my knowledge, and let's actually test this, is going in here and let's add inside of objects. Let's add elves, because we are in Santa's hotline account. For those of you that aren't familiar, I set up an AI voice agent that allows kids to call in and say what they wish for Christmas. So let's call this elf and elves. And change this icon to something Christmas. So let's change this icon to a Christmas tree. All right, we're going to go ahead and save this. And now I can go back into my associations. I can create an association. So I can associate children to elves. I can associate contacts to elves. I can do a variety of different things with that. So in this case, we're going to call this parent name, or parent, I think is what I used last time. So we're going to associate this with this object. Now, you'll see that an elf can be associated with many contacts with the label parent, and a contact can be associated with many elves with the label parent. So we're going to save this. And we do now have the ability, which is really cool, to add custom fields directly to those objects. So we can do things like add that custom field for elf or toy specialty. We can set that in elf info. We can save that. And now we have the ability to update that custom field inside of a workflow. But let's take a look now. When we go to create the workflow, you'll see that there are two different categories. You have children-based workflow and elf-based categories, or elf-based workflow categories. So what you would do, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this workflow because it's irrelevant. What you would do is just go ahead and create an elf-based workflow and say an elf is changed. What changed on the elf? The elf's toy specialty has changed. Save this. And we can now do some magic where we update or change the associated record. Another thing that you can actually do is send out custom webhooks and then receive those webhooks in another workflow. So you do have the ability to go in and really change up what you're passing through the workflows. So this is another workaround. Let's say that you maybe need a little bit more of a robust action, or you don't want to create a bunch of custom fields. You are still able to use the webhook function, which is super powerful. So some notes that I wanted to talk about on the high-level Pro Tools side. For those of you who are not familiar with our affiliate program, we do have an amazing affiliate program. I am the head of partnerships, so it is my job to make sure all of our affiliates are taken care of. And we are now offering much better commission structures on all products. So previously, we weren't really offering much in the way of commissions on things like digital products, so snapshots, bundles, the theme builder, things like that. Now we're offering 40% commission on all digital assets, 20% commission on all support assets. So that's human related services, and 10% on platinum services. So some really cool new stuff coming out. I know last week we had Ryan and Ryan from Zappy Chat and Orion from the GHL University on the call. Got a lot of value from them. So there's a lot of cool new features coming out in Zappy Chat and the GHL University that I'll be super excited to talk about in the coming weeks. But I don't have information that I can share just yet. But what I can tell you is that Zappy Chat is leveling up again, and the GHL University is taking it to a whole nother level of being able to provide you with really valuable content that you can share with your customers in a totally white label fashion. For those of you that aren't familiar with the GHL University, I'll go ahead and pop open their page really quick. And the reason I want to talk about the GHL University is it's such a powerful platform. You have the ability to really easily have these white labeled videos with your AI avatar in the top left corner. That is huge because your clients aren't really going to notice that it's AI, in my opinion. It's pretty good fidelity in terms of speech to text. All you have to do, or text to speech, all you have to do is take a couple shots of your face, record a quick video, and the AI will clone you, and then you're off to the races. One of the nice things about the GHL University is they are offering free samples. So you do get 20 sample lessons and access to their free community plus $1,000 coupon code associated with signing up for just their free content. So super valuable to agency owners, even if you're not planning on signing up for the full tilt. Those 20 free videos are going to make you look like a rock star because you're going to be able to, in a white label fashion, explain high level to your customers. Let's take a look at Zappy Chat. And Zappy Chat is one of the best, in my opinion, most thorough and scalable, ultimately, from a white label standpoint, AI systems on the market. Some new features that are coming out are going to be things like better conversation engagement, more platform integrations. So being able to integrate with things that aren't just high level, which is huge, because that means that platforms like HubSpot and Salesforce and House Call Pro, all these different platforms that they're working on integrating things with, are going to really simplify your need for a bot. One of the cool things that I love about Zappy Chat is not only do they include a bunch of bonuses, but you actually get a real live chat widget that is native to Zappy Chat, and it passes the information back to high level. So it actually operates a lot more efficiently and faster than, in my opinion, what you can get natively out of the box. Now, that being said, it is the season of AI, and Conversation AI V2 is incredibly powerful. So if you haven't seen Conversation AI V2, let me just hop over to that really quick. And let's take a look at Conversation AI V2. So I'm going to create a bot, and it's really this simple, guys. It is such a powerful feature. I know that Conversation AI V2 has been out for a little bit, but I still love talking about it because it's such an easy thing to set up. So I would call this Santa's Hotline, Santa Hotline. And I'm going to set it to be in autopilot mode. And I want to have this to Santa's Hotline. I'm going to set this wait time down to 1 minute because I want it to respond a little bit faster. I want to turn it on to sleep if I'm sending a message manually or through a workflow. And then I'm going to save this bot. That is really as hard as it is to create the initial bot. Now, the next thing you need to do is go in and tweak your prompt a little bit. You want to maybe set up some appointment booking. You don't need to set up appointment booking. The bot training does a really good job of being able to answer questions. So, will I get what I want for Christmas? If you have been good, I will do my best to make sure your wish comes true. And then I'm going to save that in my Q&A pairs. So what I'm able to do there is now I can ask the bot, am I going to get what I want for Christmas? And then it's going to automatically know that I'm talking about Santa because I named it Santa's Hotline. I didn't even have to go into the bot goals and edit that prompt at all. That's how amazing it is. So you can then add custom values. You can add the business name. You can talk, say, make jokes about Christmas, say ho, 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 different things like that. There's all kinds of stuff you can do in Conversation AI V2. And I know that voice agents are not far off from being able to do those different functionalities. Like if you go into agent goals, for example, you can see the prompting style is a little bit different. You can't book appointments directly through the voice AI. You can accomplish that using a workflow, but the voice AI currently doesn't have the ability to check live availability and things like that, or live product information. But those are all things that are coming soon. I've confirmed with the developers at GoHighLevel that they are going to be releasing those features here shortly. So super powerful stuff. We have about 5 minutes left on the general town hall stuff, and then I'll move into questions and answers. So I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen and open up the floor to anyone that has any questions about what I've talked about so far, any questions about GHL updates, anything like that. Otherwise, you guys are free to ask any questions about GHL across the board. Whether it be coaching, how to set up custom objects, anything like that, feel free to let me know. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question.
On the associations. So I'm trying to think of like a dog boarding and training business.
Yeah,
So basically, you could now with the associations, you could set up the owner as the parent or a regular contact, and then you could set up all of the dogs as individual contacts, and then do it through an association.
absolutely. And that's actually an example that I did a couple weeks ago, where I had, because you have the ability to add custom fields into the objects themselves. What I did is I set up exactly that, where the dog was the custom object, because let's face it, you're not going to text message the dog. So I set it up to where the dog's information was things like their vaccination records, their last time they boarded, all that different stuff. And then I'm able to show in, using a couple different workarounds, able to do things like send vaccination notifications to users. and to actual contacts in the system. So anytime that you're talking about working with an entity that doesn't need communication to it, that's a prime example of a custom object. So dogs would be a great example.
So then to take it to the next level, since we're talking about uh, HL Pro Tools, are you guys going to go back and look at some of your snapshots,
Absolutely.
specifically the dog boarding one, and updating that to reflect that type of change? With obviously you could have that snapshot with a lot of those records that you just mentioned.
Absolutely. And that's something that we're working on right now. I know that I don't believe that custom objects are snapshotable at the moment. There, I'll have to check specifically on that. But as soon as they're available to be incorporated into a snapshot, absolutely, that'll be like one of the first things on our list. I know that part of our goals in 2025 are to completely overhaul all of our snapshots and to include things like AI workflows and stuff like that. So totally something that's on our radar. Are there any other snapshots you think that would be like highly beneficial for this, or is kind of dog boarding the niche that you're in?
Well, no, I just happen to have that snapshot, and I happen to have a one client, and that's why I was just bringing it up, because I know I've talked about it with them in the past, trying to figure out workaround.
Yeah.
And
It used to be you had to have like four different dog listings
yeah,
in custom fields, and it was such a pain in the butt.
and then
And
it doesn't help if they have five dogs because you only had four listed.
exactly,
So
exactly. Yeah, but now with custom objects, you're totally able to do that because you can associate, like I've seen some pretty crazy custom object builds with like 1,000 records inside the custom objects for things like vehicle leasing companies and stuff like that. One of my favorite examples of the custom objects is for HVAC companies because you don't obviously text the furnace, but you need to know when the furnace is coming due for service, when the air filters need to be changed, when your like various checkups are, stuff like that. And also to track serial numbers and warranties are a big, big asset inside of custom values. And let me check really quick. One of the things that I did notice um, is I'm just gonna pull up something on my screen really quick and see go high level dot stoplight.com. Let's stop it. Never find it when I want it. Oh, it's high level dot stoplight. There we go. So they are working on releasing custom objects inside of the API. That's going to totally open up a whole new category of things you can do with custom objects. One of the challenges in the pet industry specifically is that there isn't really a good integration between various platforms and GHL. But with the association of custom objects and the release soon of the custom objects API, that's going to be totally a thing of the past. So
so that would
dog
not
niche,
only deal with that industry, but basically um, any health related system with all of the EMR.
exactly. Exactly. And you can assign custom objects don't necessarily need to be permanent objects either, because you do have the ability to delete them. So let's say that you wanted to have a custom object that was consumable, like um, a rapid COVID test or something like that, but it was serialized. You have the ability to consume those objects as well using the workflows. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I don't think that this is fully going to replace an EMR, but I would say that it's going another significant step forward of being able to replace a lot of third-party systems.
Um, a couple other things I have questions on. One is
Sure.
when the quiz function first came out, um, it it really was when I tested it wasn't really ready for release yet.
Hmm.
And the results page didn't match up with the setup and didn't have any triggers to do any workflows. Has that changed?
Let's take a look. So we will find out.
And the only thing that's what I thought was weird is it seemed like in surveys they added some of the quiz related features, but in quizzes there was just no trigger for quizzes.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that workflow really quick. We'll just do start from scratch. And let's type in quiz. So it does not look like there is a quiz workflow yet. Quiz
But if
workflow
you go
action yet.
to if you look at surveys, not necessarily because we have the survey submitted, but when you look at the survey setup now, you can actually score things in a survey.
Correct.
But if you can score things in a survey, that's all basically what a quiz was doing is you were applying a value to survey questions. And it was just like the setup for the webinar funnels. All it is just a different label on a funnel.
Yeah, the biggest difference with quizzes is they're not necessarily designed to multipath people out so quickly. So let's go ahead and just create a dummy quiz and add let's do single choice, multiple choice, yes, no. So you do have the options to jump to different categories and score them. But what you're not doing is, and let's check in advanced settings, what you're not doing is taking them out of the quiz because they answered a question a certain way.
Right.
So that's the biggest difference between surveys and quizzes. But they have not released the workflow actions for it yet.
Now, if what's the point of issuing a quiz if I can't even get a trigger that says somebody submitted a quiz?
Yeah, totally fair. I completely agree with you. That's something that is kind of they do release it on the skateboard model, which we all know how that works.
Yeah,
So
I've never liked their development schedule model.
yep, totally fair. Um, but yeah, I know that part of this year's or 2025's goals, because they're focusing predominantly on enhancements, we should start seeing features like that rolling out super, super quickly. Whereas before, they were focusing so much on skateboard new features that they were leaving a lot of these kind of orphan features behind. But I got direct commitment from the head of product development at High Level that they're not focusing on any new features this year. It's purely enhancements to existing features.
Yeah, because there's a couple things that they've added, like for instance, the quick add function. Um, when you create a field on the fly, um, that one's difficult because you can't categorize them, so it's kind of hard to organize them. So I have to tell people don't even use that function, even though it's on the menu.
Yeah, I typically don't recommend using the quick add either. It's something that gets really confusing really fast, and it should only be used if you're building out like a massive questionnaire and you don't want to go in and preload all those custom fields on the back end. But generally speaking, I'd say that I would completely agree with you. It's not something that I typically use.
Yeah. The other thing is since you're the guy in charge of affiliate programs, um, why don't you guys have a great affiliate program snapshot?
That's a really good point. And so what would you be looking for in that snapshot?
Well, because so right now it's like I just don't have the time to build out everything myself, so I'm looking for a way to shortcut it and literally have everything from the sign up pages to the review pages. Um, uh, there would be maybe with the custom objects now would be nice that you could have um, one affiliate code that could easily be applied to every page and not have to come up with a new uh, code for every single funnel page that you want to set them up for. The follow-up email campaigns that are part of, thank you for registering, or here's your monthly report. This is what you've done. I mean,
Yeah, I
nothing.
love that. I love that. That's something that I can definitely include potentially this year, because we have a little bit of time left before Christmas. And so you may get your Christmas wish and get an affiliate snapshot. I think that that's a really phenomenal idea to be able to provide as a value add in our snapshot store. So you'll be the first to know as soon as I get it ready.
Yay. And then I'm trying to make some decisions right now. You know, uh, I work with another individual who he's in the process right now of taking a 10-year legacy system and Keep and moving it all over to HighLevel.
Oof, I don't envy you.
Well, it's not. It's just he's actually a mentor of mine, and he actually has a GoHighLevel agency himself. Um, but his business in the past was based on Keep, and he's an expert in AI, and a lot of people have been asking him about what he thought of the AI features inside a HighLevel, and would he implement them in his business, or would he use a third party? And he pretty much uniformly said he would go to a third party because it's just not there.
I
Um,
think that for most users, it's perfectly adequate. And you're going to have your subset of users that need something like BotPress or SynthFlow or SynthOS or any of these other, ZappyChat, CloseBot, any of these third-party platforms that are a little bit more robust. But for the majority of people, you're talking about people who've never used AI before. They just need an answering service, realistically.
what about like on the voice AI though? That's one of the areas that I'm looking at right now, implementing before the end of the year.
I love the voice AI in HighLevel. I've built probably at this point, I have either built or helped people build over 100 voice AI bots. And I personally think it's phenomenal. It runs into some limitations around multilingual support and things like that you can really only solve with a platform like SynthFlow. But generally speaking, it works really well. I mean, I actually deployed that Christmas bot in about 5 minutes while at dinner because I had a harebrained idea that I wanted to send
Yeah, but
kids.
that particular one, let's face it, that's a fairly simple
So
voice.
what kind of complexity would you be looking for? Like what kind of features aren't available?
Well, no, I'm just again, it depends on how much training you have to do behind it. I mean, sometimes to train any kind of AI bot, you might take 3 to 4 days worth of training because of the volume of things that you have to train it on. Like, for instance, if you're just creating a voice, AI voice for doing customer service for a HighLevel.
Hmm.
Okay, so you'd have to train it with the entire knowledge base of HighLevel. And then obviously as new features come out, you'd have to train it with new content as things change.
That's
But
totally fair. That's totally fair. And voice AI isn't there yet, I would agree on the training aspect because it really is designed to provide that simulated answering service. And that's how it was targeted at first. So if you're looking to do one that's more support bot focused, that exceeds, like, let's say you're an internet service provider, right? And you need to, um, you need to tell someone to reboot their modem if they say a specific thing. That's totally doable. Now, training it on HighLevel's entire support docs, not doable at the moment. You can train Conversation AI V2 on HighLevel's entire support docs. That totally works fine. But the voice AI is just a little bit shy of that. But that being said, I have a quote that someone gave me a while ago when we were talking about AI, and they said, "Today you woke up and it's the worst it'll ever be," and that's true. Because
for
tomorrow,
any software.
Yeah, tomorrow, well, you hope, but I think the Infusionsoft users and ClickFunnels users would disagree, but
Well,
but yeah, so it's something where as they're rolling out these new features, like they just rolled out 50 new voices. I know Fur Patel, who is leading the charge from a product standpoint at the AI stuff at high level, and he tells me all the time about crazy new ideas they have and crazy new features and ways that they're enhancing it. So I would say that give it like 2 weeks and you'll be amazed at what they release just on the voice AI itself. And it's hugely popular at the moment. But one of the things that High Level needed to do was release it to figure out how people wanted to use it and how they were actively using it. And then they're tracking their development and growth based on those indicators.
that's an interesting approach because then there's going to be people like me who wouldn't adopt it until it got a little bit better, and so they wouldn't get any data from.
That's true, but the majority of the people, I mean, the majority of the people right now are out there selling it and not having problems selling it because again, you got to think most small business owners aren't going to be power users like you. You're a SaaS agency owner, you're a veteran in the marketing space, and it sounds like you know AI pretty well. So you're probably not their target demographic in this first round. But absolutely, things that go on the ideas board and stuff that is missing is getting prioritized.
So the other area, so I'm trying to change my business model a little bit. I've been very hands-on, and I want to be a little bit more hands-off on many of the aspects, focusing on. I have somebody else to do sales. I'm more of the relationship strategic planner.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
out of as much implementation as possible. I still want to be involved to some level, but on a day-to-day basis, I don't want to do it. And so I'm trying to get a better understanding of what I can push off to HL Pro Tools and get them to do on my behalf on a white label basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So we fully support any function or feature inside of High Level. And we have a whole training team that works with our technicians on keeping them up to speed on the newest features and releases. You can push off pretty much everything.
General support. So, like, I had this one client in Germany, and I swear she's online with your team on a daily basis. And almost every day I get a message that she gave you guys a 5-star review. So obviously I'm very happy with all of that.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Um, uh, but that's just, the general support. And I want to see what other things I can do above and beyond that.
So we have are you on the elite or platinum plan?
No.
Okay. So on the elite plan, we do offer onboardings as part, you get 4 onboardings per month as part of the elite plan. And with platinum, you get unlimited onboardings per month. Those are big opportunities. There obviously there's an increased cost associated with that service, but it allows you to offload the majority of what you would have done as the implementer
And by
directly
the way,
to
the
HWT.
onboarding. So here's the part of my issue, and I haven't been able to, and it's mostly maybe a mindset issue.
Sure.
Is when you're first establishing that relationship, and I'm definitely one who likes to hold on to clients more, and there's some agencies out there that are more about acquisition and couldn't care less about churn.
Right.
So I'm kind of reticent on the onboarding. That's like my first opportunity to really create that relationship after the sale. So do I really want on just the onboarding? Do I want to get rid of that?
Um, I think that there's a value. What I found in because I used to be an HLPT customer before I was had a partnership. Like long ago, I was an HLPT customer. And when I had my agency, what I found is that I was handing them off to someone on my team and then saying, hey, but here's an extra hour that I'm willing to give you of my time to cultivate that relationship with you and maybe go through some unique training items or help you to understand different use cases in the platform. Let's just kind of spitball. So what I did was I would have the technical and basic training done by a third party service provider. And then
Uh-huh.
I would do either a call before that or after that to really seal in that kind of more personal aspect to, if that makes sense.
What I've done is I just implemented where every day I have 1 hour a day that I'm just online, and if somebody shows up, I'm there to answer whatever they want.
Yep.
Because there's some people for onboarding. I have some people that onboarding can, the entire process can be done in 1 hour, and then I have some people that take 6 months.
And that's where those open tech support hours, which I've seen a lot of people do, and that's why we do them here at HLPT.
Mm-hmm.
Those open tech support hours are golden. I mean, that's going to be where you get all your buy-in. A lot of times, what I'll do if I don't get that high of a showing to my calls, is I'll just go live stream it on Facebook and then just answer questions that people have about how to use the platform, kind of do the whole like walk out of the restaurant and heckle the bystanders until they show up, that kind of principle. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't done that. I basically just say if they don't show up, I have other work to do, and I just have it on the other screen. And if somebody shows up, that's great. And if they don't, I'm just working. So
it really does help. It really does
live.
help though to build that community. Because, and the other thing is that if you're talking about use cases and you're basically just talking into the camera for an hour, it's an hour a day of content that you're getting that you can send people links to, which is why like every week we cover something different.
Yeah,
Um,
I do that. So what I've added, I have a Friday morning master class where I pick a different topic every week and go over those in depth, and that's where I'm doing the content from. But the daily thing, it's just again, it's very specific to their questions about their particular business, or it's onboarding,
that's
and
fair.
that's. But again, it's trying to make a decision of what do I get off of my plate so I can concentrate more on growing the business and setting it up properly versus supporting it and doing the relationship building.
I mean, I will tell you that I've seen thousands of agencies leverage third-party support providers for onboardings, and the vast, very significantly high majority of them have found that it's so much easier to say, "Hey, I heard you worked with, Fez over at our onboarding team, and I just wanted to check in. How did things go with Fez? Did you have any questions, or how can I help you?" And you're coming in at that point as the owner and CEO of the business, because it does look a little bit funny when the owner and CEO of the business is the one doing the onboardings.
Yeah, well, and that's the conundrum right now is because most of the people are coming to me because they've had bad experiences with other agencies,
That's fair.
and and they like the fact that I'm maybe a little bit more involved, and that's part of the in our in the coaching industry in general. 85% of the people are charlatans who are mostly interested in just collecting money and not actually caring about their customer.
Right.
And that's not my brand, and that's why they're coming to me. And so that's where I'm having this. Like I said, some of it's very much a mindset issue on my and trying to navigate everything that's available to me with HL Pro Tools.
So I'd
And
recommend trying the onboarding
okay,
and just go through it yourself. And you'll get assigned an onboarding specialist. Check out the onboarding, see how it goes. And it's also something that you can attend the first call or the second call,
okay,
or both. So you get a calendar invite to every single onboarding that HL Pro Tools does,
okay,
and you're able to show up. Sometimes if you want to show up for 5 minutes just to check in, make the introduction, the customer feels. So you can kind of have that happy bridge between the two.
That's good. That's good just for perception value with the the whole concept with the team idea. So that's great.
But at
Uh,
scale, what you don't want to have happen is everyone starts coming to you.
right, exactly. What about um, also incorporating Zappy Chat into all of
So I will look at whether or not our onboardings include Zappy Chat. It's super easy to set up, and I don't see why we wouldn't be able to support it, but I'll just have to confirm with our onboarding team that if they have Zappy Chat as part of your SOP, because they do develop a custom SOP for your onboarding.
that? Okay.
So I would just have to check if you include Zappy Chat in that SOP, if they're able to set it up as well.
I've actually, and quite frankly, I've been so overwhelmed with other things that I'm trying to get set up. I haven't even had a chance to set up Zappy Chat for myself.
Well, I'd love to, I'd love to, if you just want to email me, I'd love to set it up with you and kind of walk you through it if you'd be interested in it.
That would be
Because that's, yeah, so let me just drop my email in the chat really quick. Or you're always welcome to find me on Facebook. It's just first name and last name. That's usually the fastest way to get a hold of me. But if you shoot me an email, I'd be happy to schedule a call and spend some time with you configuring Zappy Chat and kind of going over best practices. I love the platform. So I'm always down to help people out with it.
well. I'll tell you, when I first started, I actually started with one of your competitors, which I wasn't happy with at all. And when I made the change a year ago to you guys, um, it was 100%, if not more than 100% better.
Thank you. That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. And that's, culturally speaking, we are very different from most of our competitors. And it really shines through in our value that we deliver because we have been doing this longer than everyone else. Made more mistakes than everyone else. So we've been able to learn from our lessons and really structure things to operate with maximum efficiency. And that's everything that HLPT is about is efficiency and maximizing value for our clients. Matt just at the end of the day, like his big vision statement is he wants to help in the next 20 years, he wants to help 5,000 people achieve financial freedom through SaaS. And
Mm-hmm.
that's his whole mission statement, his personal mission statement is that he just wants to help people be successful. And I think that that really shows through in our team because he imbues that upon the rest of the staff. So I'm so glad to hear that you had a great experience with us. And I look forward to working with you more in the future. Um, yeah,
Well, I appreciate it. And yes, I will be in touch with you right after this.
cool. Sounds good. Well, I will go ahead. We have about 5 minutes left, so I will open up the floor to any outstanding questions. Feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. And otherwise, I will give everyone 5 minutes back on their day. So if you have any questions, going once, going twice, and sold for 4 minutes and like 52 seconds left on your day. Or left on your this call. So I hope that you guys all have a wonderful afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Friday for SaaS and business coaching.